Welcome back to Edge of Indy. Hey, we got a great show for you today. We're welcoming back Brackets for Good, and the winner of the brackets, NeuroHope. We also have Midtown Indy, a group dedicated to the economic vitality of downtown Indianapolis neighborhoods. All this today on The Edge.
Your audio and video source featuring Indianapolis tech trends, marketing industry champions, and business innovation. This is Edge of Indy. Broadcasting from Edge Media Studios. Let's get today's conversation started.
Well, welcome back, Indy. Hey, if you haven't come across this show before, we certainly welcome you. We'd love for you to check out all the shows that we've been doing. We air this show, Edge of Indy, each and every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So what we do here on the show is we focus on local Indianapolis entrepreneurs, innovators, movers, and shakers here in Indianapolis and Indiana. We feature people and organizations that make Indianapolis a great place to work, live, and visit. So we champion this mantra often is choose local and choose local often. That's what Edge of Indy is all about. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks. I'm the CEO of Site Strategics, as well as Edge Media Studios, where we're broadcasting from. And to my right is Brittany Simpson. She's the Director of Marketing Services at Site Strategics. How are you doing, Brittany?
Hi. That's a great start. You got through all the words and everything today.
Without a bobble.
High five. Good job.
Thanks so much.
Good job.
Well, I mean, we're drinking here, so it's always a great, it just loosens everything.
I wasn't
just
kidding. I wasn't going to tell anyone, but since you did.
Well, I mean, it's bound to happen, right? I mean, the odds are that something's going to happen where a beverage gets popped on Edge of Indy.
When I think of Wednesdays at 3 p.m., I think a little bit of Chardonnay.
Now, you can't get away with that on Indy style, now, can you? Or maybe they do.
We don't know what they do there.
Well, as uncomfortable as this is, let's introduce our guest here. We've got a return visitor, Matt Duncan, co-founder and deputy director of Brackets for Good. Sir, how are you doing today?
Awesome. I'm doing great. Thank you guys so much for having us back.
I like your orange shirt today.
Thank you. Well, Brackets for Good brand is very orange, so I'm either a street pylon or rocking the brand one way or another.
Can't miss you.
That's right.
Yeah, when you're on the street. I mean, you've got like safety colors going. Right?
I know that we're the only people that has the orange color to stand out, so it works.
I'm just looking for the chuck hole that's actually behind you.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm in Indianapolis, so you never know.
My God. Well, to my left actually is the winner of this year's Brackets for Good, Chris Leeuw, founder of NeuroHope. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing awesome. So thank you for having me on.
You're more than welcome. Welcome to the studio.
Welcome to the Edge.
Hey, you're the winner of Brackets for Good. The Brackets for Good is the challenge winner, Chris from NeuroHope. Tell us a little bit about how the tournament went for you, and give us your experience. Most importantly, let's understand Brackets for Good again real quick. Matt, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
I put you on the spot, but we'll go back around.
You're in a timeout for a second.
Okay.
Hold that
I'll just sit over here and drink my coffee.
Think about the question he just asked you for the next time.
So Brackets for Good, we're a nonprofit here in Indianapolis. We host an online fundraising tournament that's modeled after the college basketball tournament. So instead of college basketball teams and college basketball teams playing basketball, we have nonprofit organizations that are matched up head-to-head to out-fundraise one another, where 1 point equals $1. Organizations keep whatever they raise throughout the tournament, and our overall tournament winner receives a cash prize donation from our title sponsor, which this year, for the 4th year in a row, is Leeuw Financial Advisors. So $10,000 in addition to all the funds that NeuroHope raised was also contributed to them this year.
How did it go overall this year?
Incredible. Indy raised nearly a little over $750,000, a little shy of that, I'm sorry.
Wow.
We had an Indiana tournament as well, so all combined over $1 million was raised for organizations across the state. So a ton of awareness, a lot of great marketing and promotion from these organizations, kind of highlighting what they do, how they're impacting people's lives, where dollars go that donors are donating back to these organizations. So a ton of fun. A lot of organizations hopefully received a ton of exposure in addition to those dollars that they raised throughout the tournament.
Chris, I want to turn to you for a second. I told you ahead of this interview that I was going to dote on you a little bit because your story is awesome. Like, you have an awesome story. So can you give us a little bit of background about you? Tell us a little bit about NeuroHope, and then we're going to dive into how you succeeded so much on this tournament, because what you did was incredible. I don't know how you did it, but we want to find out how you did it.
Thank you. Yeah, so my organization is NeuroHope. We are a rehabilitation clinic for neurologic injury, particularly after insurance has expired. Because neurologic injury, we're talking spinal cord, brain injury, stroke. Those injuries take an incredible long amount of time of rehab, and in the healthcare system, insurance just gets capped quick. So we specialize on helping individuals long term. We have private pay rates. We also have real aggressive therapy, and I started it with a physical therapist. We opened 3 years ago because we both saw this giant void in healthcare. That's because I am a quadriplegic. Oh, my Lord. You look at me, you're like, what are you talking about? But I'm a quadriplegic. I still have a lot of paralysis on all 4 limbs. I had a spinal cord injury 7 years ago. Was initially completely paralyzed from the neck down, totally paralyzed. And every spinal cord injury is totally different. But even mine, like there's a spectrum of them.
Right.
Mine was obviously less severe than a lot of other ones, but still, 2 months after my injury, I could still only move a couple fingers, move my foot. I was discharged to a nursing home, still totally paralyzed. I needed a sip and puff wheelchair. I didn't know if I was ever going to get any better. Right. Doctors really didn't know how much I'd get better. 6 months after my injury, I could stand for a couple seconds, still couldn't use my arms. And I went to an aggressive rehab clinic all the way in Utah that really changed my thinking, blew my mind. It had all these different therapy interventions. I was able to go there every day for 2 years, rehab every day, and relearn every movement. And came back here to Indiana just really determined to try to start something like that here. So we've been successful to do that over the last several years. And we just moved into a new gym. We've joined the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation Neuro Recovery Network. So we have a lot of really high-tech therapy interventions. And we're trying to really just complete the continuum of care after inpatient and outpatient. So that's the spiel on NeuroHope. That's my Cliff's Notes version. Healthcare here is awesome.
Yeah.
We're just saying, like, there needs to be more after you get discharged. And
longer. A longer option for sure.
And you're literally demonstrating and providing hope to people that may very well be looking at their challenges as always being that same challenge. You're actually opening the doors with a heck of a lot of partners to be able to create much better support for them. And it's not just physical. There's so much that's on the mental side as well.
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely. I mean, these injuries change your life.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, in every way. I mean, I still live with my spinal cord injury a lot.
Right.
So below my neck, I don't have any feeling of temperature, texture. It feels like my body's asleep. All you need pins and needles. That's what I feel like from my neck down. Wow. My left arm is still mostly paralyzed. My shoulder's dislocated permanently. Not a lot of neurologic return came in that shoulder.
Right.
Every movement I make, I have to think very consciously about. It's just strange. I mean, I still have a lot of the issues with my spinal cord injury. So it's lifetime maintenance, and that's one of the things we do as well. So.
And that's where I was going, is that making sure that people have that, not only that hope, but also that support system, because you can feel very isolated and completely cut off from the rest of the world going through what you've gone through. And to be able to have not only the physical support, but also just the champions to be able to help guide people on a better mental state, right? I mean, that's also what you guys provide.
We do, yeah, and we've noticed a lot of the patients and clients we have, it's almost a support system when they come, and they want to be there. A lot of times in rehab, individuals, they complain about it, they going through the motions, but no, people want to be there, and you see families coming out of the woodwork and then helping, and I mean, I owe a lot of it to my family as well. So I mean, even during my personal rehab, I was 28 years old when it happened. I was on a kayaking trip with 2 of my best friends, and we were at Blues Canoes down in Edinburgh, if you've ever been there by chance.
No, not yet.
It's an awesome place. We were kayaking down this river. We come across this giant bridge, and we were jumping off this bridge into the water. I climbed up to the top of this bridge. It's like 50 feet up. And I jumped feet first. The water was deep. It wasn't overly dangerous, but someone jumped in right after me and just snapped my neck. It was like a light switch. And so the rehab process started. Instantly you think your life's over.
Yeah.
You literally think your life's over. But so my mother and I went to Salt Lake City. She was my caregiver. I couldn't feed myself, for 2 years, almost 17 months we were there every day. So, and just slowly kind of getting things back. I mean, these injuries just take a long time. So That's what we're seeing, and it's pretty awesome seeing some individuals that are in the same situation that I was that we're helping, and even other individuals that aren't so fortunate in their recovery, just need that long-term place to stay active and help their health. So.
Well, it's no wonder that you won the tournament. Your team raised over $90,000 and did a great job of raising awareness of your own work as well. So you got to let us know how you did that as an inspiration for other organizations that contribute into Brackets for Good.
Yeah. So I was telling Matt earlier. So we did this last year. We did this last year as well. We got all the way to the Final Four. And
Philanthropic Four.
Philanthropic Four. Thanks for the correction.
There we go.
So we lost, and we found, but we couldn't believe we got that far because we're a tiny charity. I mean, we have seven employees. But we do have a big support system. And this year we almost didn't do the tournament because it took so much out of us. We loved it. It's not like we just didn't have the time. We were like, well, let's take a year off. But we moved into a new gym with some funding that we received from the state of Indiana, and it's at the Incrediplex out in Lawrence, a big sports complex. And we said, okay, let's do we want to do an open house showing everyone. And Incrediplex got behind it. They're like, why don't we use this as a kickoff for Brackets for Good? So we got all of our supporters out, and we kind of started taking pledges, and we realized that was the key. The key to win this tournament is you have to really do your work in advance. You have to go out and get pledges for people. You have to say, you have to try to strategically figure out when you're going to play it. So for example, we had coming out of that event, we had like I think $15,000 or $20,000 worth of pledges. But I mean, well, when do you use them? You don't know. And luckily, last year we realized like you use them strategically, and it's set up so intensely that the rounds come to the last second, and you see things pouring in, and eventually you can have people kind of queued up saying, okay, we have these pledges here. You're going to get on a laptop. You're going to get on a laptop. And you kind of got to be like a general, being like, all right, you go. Where are they at? Okay, 3 seconds, and it's intense. It's really intense, especially when we got to the last kind of last round. So
kind of sound like hackers a little bit.
Yeah.
It was intense. Yeah. So we had this giant viewing party for 2 of our rounds at the Incrediplex. We kind of had everyone there, and we had Incrediplex put up the live ticker. That's another thing. The tech that Brackets for Good has, it's awesome. It makes everything so easy. People can donate live. There's live tickers that track the donations real time, makes it intense. Other donors that have donated from other rounds, like a lot of people they pledged. So you asked how we raised so much money. So we actually raised $80,000. Plus, we got the 10 from Vallejo.
Still impressive.
Yeah. But so it's like, how did that happen? Well, some of them came out of the woodwork. Like a lot of people, once they donate in earlier rounds, then they get invested in it.
Yep.
And then the next round, they're like, oh my gosh, you advanced again. Here's another 100. Or it's like, oh my gosh, we realized that we pledged $1,000. We played it in round 2, but crap, I'm looking at the ticker. You're down. We just gave you another 1,000. And I'm just like, so next thing you know, So, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of pledges.
All these organizations are really investing in you and championing you the entire time. So they're bought in, and they're bought into what you represent, but also it's the entire excitement, the entire momentum of the brackets, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a way to really get your donors out, and it's an outstanding way to fundraise.
Well, Matt, I was going to say back to you, that has to be so rewarding to hear from a participant, like the winner, what a great experience it is, and just knowing that this keeps working more and more every year. It has to be really rewarding for you to hear, right?
Absolutely, but I think the rewarding part for me in hearing this whole story is Chris's story and the work that they're doing in the city and impacting other people's lives. For me, I'm kind of a lifelong learner, and I think everyone that's involved with Brackets for Good is interested in what's happening in our community. And I think for us, the ability to learn about these injuries and these situations that happen to people, and that there's organizations out there that are providing options for individuals that are affected by one of these neurological injuries or spinal cord injuries, like it's incredibly impactful to know that there's someone in your corner here in our own state that can help assist you if something like that happens. And, it is exciting to hear that they're kind of looking at fundraising as a game and as a strategy and thinking about it as a sense of urgency and pulling people back and rallying them around
and hacking
the cause.
System.
Well, I mean, look,
there's no hacking the system going on.
Fundraising is
really
strategically
hard. Placing mouse clicks.
Exactly.
It's all how you look at it.
Exactly. But fundraising is really hard. And anybody that's in that business understands that it's really challenging to get people behind your mission and to get them to give their hard-earned money in support of your cause. And anything that we can do to increase that support, the awareness is huge. I mean, I think it's really important. But creating a team around the movement that you are trying to see come to fruition, I hope is really rewarding, that you've got people that are now getting excited about fundraising, and maybe they're not always that excited. They love the impact, but having something that's kind of intense and edge of your seat in fundraising is pretty new, and that's exciting to us as well.
Gamifying the entire thing gets everybody bought in, and you've got the rivalry that can really take a life of its own. But it's no longer the tough ask. You're setting the entire thing up on its ear and saying, all right, let's just all get around this. And it gives the stage to be able to hear the whys of different organizations in a whole different light.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is every organization needs funds to operate. They need funds to grow. They need, and growth is, impacting more individuals across their mission. And knowing that there's a sense of urgency, which always doesn't happen in fundraising. There could be an event that's coming up or other things like that, but knowing that this is a very time-sensitive campaign, I also think hopefully helps with those asks and gets people more rallied behind the excitement of what's happening online. Absolutely. Yeah.
So in what ways can our viewers and listeners help those that you serve, people with traumatic brain and spinal cord injuries? How can our listeners and our viewers and our audience post a fundraising like this, be able to connect with you and be able to help?
Well, I mean, it's about raising awareness, I suppose. I mean, that's the main thing. Everyone sort of assumes that there's no void in the healthcare system because you get hurt. We have amazing healthcare facilities here, and like when I got hurt, I just assumed that at least I'm in a place where I'm going to get the care I need.
Right.
And through no fault of the healthcare providers, but that care doesn't. I mean, a couple of weeks after your injury, there's nothing there, so everyone just assumes, like most people, then they just go home. And for my situation, they were going to send me home in a power wheelchair.
Right.
And you assume that continuum of care is there. So a lot of it's that's what a lot of people don't understand. So it's raising awareness. It's I'm just trying to. I mean, for people that really feel for what we're doing, it's trying to connect to the right individuals that can help grow our mission, because a big part of what we do is community support. So because we offset the true cost of therapy. So that means we have to fundraise for every person we see, because we offer really cheap rates. If you go to insurance for outpatient, they'll charge you $300 or $400 an hour.
Yep.
And right now we charge $50.
Unbelievable.
So
Gosh.
we fundraise to make up for that cost. So it's raising awareness, and anyone that has been touched by it.
I told you he was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an incredible story, and I mean, you're practicing what you preach. I mean, you're not only you not only benefited from that support system, but you're wanting to be able to give back. And how often do you hear that? I mean, there's a lot of, when you see these type of organizations, the charitable organizations, people have been touched either individually or by family members, right? But you are literally a living inspiration to be able to share with other paraplegics and other people that have had spinal cord injuries that there is hope. I mean, you're right there. So congratulations to you on what you're doing with NeuroHope, and on top of that, just congratulations for Practice Good and be able to win that and be able to rally a team around that. That's fantastic to be able to win. This is how many years have we been doing this?
7 years.
7 years. Yep. And this is the highest fundraising this year.
Last year we had a national tournament which raised $1 million in and of itself, but we still raised more than we did last year, just minus the national tournament.
Roger that.
It was great. Across the 13 markets, nearly $3 million was raised for charities across the country.
Yeah, combining all 13 tournaments held this year, Brackets for Good actually raised nearly $3 million for 605 charities.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good, Matt. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
We know Indy can do more, right?
Yeah, I mean.
So here's your call to action, Indianapolis. We expect more of you next year. How can we make that happen?
Yep.
That's a good question. more awareness. Obviously, even awareness for the Brackets for Good tournament is good for all organizations that participate. The other thing that we did in just kind of seeing more organizations step up to the plate, but it's this marrying of the corporate community with the nonprofit community. We introduced community teammates last year, and then this year opened it up for organizations to kind of go out and solicit a partner on their own. But more organizations that get behind these charities and create awareness and get their employees activated and engaged. And engaged doesn't necessarily follow with dollars. It can just be the awareness of what organizations exist in their backyard.
Yeah, a lot of times that actually sometimes is even more powerful because every person has a social wake, a tribe of followers, right? And you can activate your tribe and be able to lift up all these organizations far beyond what they could do themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's a lot of individuals out there that have different organizations that they support kind of on an ongoing basis. What I think Brackets for Good provides is an opportunity for someone to engage with a new organization for not necessarily an ongoing monthly contribution, but to be able to start testing the waters and developing a relationship with a new organization. And we want to be an on-ramp to philanthropy, whether that is a first-time ever giver or a first-time giver to those organizations. So 34% of the donations were from first-time givers.
Really?
Well, and you think about
it
you
increased
said,
about
We
a
had a lot,
percentage
too.
from last year.
you said you've been it's 3 years now, right? So
This is the second year we've done it.
So you're a relatively new organization. So if somebody who usually gives to other organizations wasn't aware of you before this, then things like challenges like this are great for plugging into new organizations that you might not have been aware of this time last year. So, gosh, it makes so much sense.
And it gives you a chance to reach out and find corporate help, corporate sponsors as well. That was huge for us. I have to give Hensley Legal Group a shout out because they were one of our corporate sponsors and they were awesome. They had a little thing with their internal employees where if all their employees would donate a couple dollars every day, they could wear jeans to work. And those things came in. Like we were looking at it, and if you could see them, and we'd see these like $2, $5, $2, $5, like just ringing up all day. And I was like, Hensley, you know what I mean? Those things add up. So it was awesome. So
yeah, it doesn't have to be large donations. No. It's just that group dynamic.
Yeah,
and
it gives you an excuse to go out there and try to reach donors, it gives. So as a philanthropist, when you're trying to raise money, you get tired of asking people for money, and this was a good way to find a new way to ask people for money, but in an engaging way and say like, look, this is what we're doing. And it gets them involved and it's a fun way to do it.
Several organizations, I was just going to jump in here real quick. Several organizations did an awesome job of highlighting kind of their personality behind their organization. Cause I think sometimes that's hard when you're either addressing very serious subject matter, but they found really creative ways to tell their story. And I think one of the reasons that NeuroHope had a ton of success and hopefully was a reason that they attracted a lot of new donors was Chris was doing a lot of video, and he was bringing people into the clinic. He was showing the equipment. He was talking about how much it costs to buy that and where your dollars are going, and seeing the people affected by these injuries. That just brings it all back home for the donor. So it's a great opportunity to learn, and it's awesome work from your promotion throughout the tournament that really kind of helped carry the weight and hopefully added a lot of those new donors and dollars into their whole contribution.
Did they get to wear jeans?
I assume so because they donated a lot throughout the day.
So
we saw those $5, $2 things rack up.
Okay, so hopefully they got to wear jeans.
Hensley's awesome. They're really good. I get a sense here. You've been doing it for 7 years here. I get the sense that you're going to start teaching charities how to actually activate and really put together briefs and some info sessions of how to plug in and get the most out of it. But I guarantee that charities, whenever charities of good, Brackets of Good comes around, or good, my Lord.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good, all of them.
I bet they're really saying, I'm so glad for this period of time so we can plug into a gamified environment as opposed to continually asking for the fundraise. And it's almost like an oasis for charities to be able to have fun as opposed to the constant plug for more fundraising, wouldn't you say? And
they get into it too. That's another thing that I'll mention. So it was funny. So there a lot of people were donating throughout the tournament, and after every round, my phone would just blow up with messages of people that were just following along from home. They're like, we were following along, we saw, and these are people that they may not have even donated that round, but like when we won on one of the last donations. It was really close. It was intense. Like literally, I thought sure we had lost, and then the last time, and as we were watching the tallies that went through, and the whole room erupted. It really got my staff involved as well, and it got everyone involved. But yeah, my phone just blew up for people that were following along, and they were just like, that was intense. And then when they're following along and they get it close, what do? They add another $50, and then that just adds up. So I was telling Matt. So going into the championship round, I got a couple pledges from that since we got to the championship that we're going to total like $25,000. This was in the last round.
Jeez.
And I was like, we might be able to win this with 25,000. I was like, we got a shot to win this. Our opponents ended up having 40,000 in the last round.
Wow.
But we ended up with 42.
Well,
so I was anticipating like 32 and I was like, maybe 32 will win it. But again, why I mentioned that is because all those other random thousands of dollars came in that just
put you over the top.
It's just like, where did that $7,000 come from? But it's like,
it's a lot of jeans.
Yeah,
it's so many pairs of jeans. That's
people
true.
are watching and they're following along. So
hey, you know what? It just dawned on me that this would be great to be able to do a live broadcast and almost do this kind of brackets for good a night of the finals and be able to bring the studio out and do this type of commentary live.
It's crazy. And for us, we're watching all the different markets. So we had 8 this year that finished in the Eastern time zone, and then it moved over to Central, and then our final one in Mountain time zone. So
a long night, huh?
Yeah, it is. These are, a lot of fun for us, though.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's we're learning about these organizations across the country, watching how they fundraise and watching how they're telling their story. It's really exciting and really cool that I think organizations across the country kind of pay attention to the tournament as a whole.
Yeah.
We kind of have a war room set up, and we've got analytics going and just knowing where everything's at, and we're screaming and cheering too. So it's kind of weird to think of fundraising as maybe a spectator sport, so to speak.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
I actually went out for dinner one night while the tournament was going on, and some organization that had participated in the past got eliminated, but they said, last night, which was Friday, like our whole family, we had the tournament up and we were watching it come down as we were eating dinner, and to hear those kind of things is just unreal. To know that an organization that got eliminated, that raised funds, that had a lot of success in the tournament, is still invested. And their whole family is watching it. It's really cool to hear those stories, and we'd love to. We kind of hesitated on live streaming the round ends just because we're also confirming a lot of scores coming through and just making sure everything's on the up and up. But we go live on Facebook afterward and try to recap what happened, and we're always just like,
I don't know. We got to talk. Maybe there's something.
There's something for sure. Absolutely.
Well, congratulations again to NeuroHope, and we certainly wanted to give you a congratulatory drink. And we also had Daredevil there on the glass, so that's another contributor to Brackets.
That's right.
And I'm drinking wine.
So
I feel like I need to carbonate this and spray it around the room.
Don't you dare.
Next visit.
This wouldn't be good.
NeuroHope,
Thank you
congrats
very
to
much.
Brackets for Good.
Cheers.
Yes, cheers.
No awkward silence there whatsoever.
Everyone, I hope you're all drinking
At
as you watch
home.
this.
Come on. All right. So you want to make sure that you get a hold of these two great organizations. For Brackets for Good, go over to bfg.org. Fantastic URL. For NeuroHope, you want to go over to neurohopewellness.org. We have that on the screen as well. Twitter, Brackets for Good, as well as at NeuroHope. On Facebook, Brackets for Good, and NeuroHope. Just search one word, you'll be able to find them. Instagram, Brackets for Good, and NeuroHope. So
It's easy to find.
They've got all the socials right there. Any final words for our audience regarding your two organizations and moving forward, and to charities that want to get involved this time next year? Well, maybe not this time, a little bit earlier.
Well, that would be too late.
That would be too late.
Yeah, registration's always open at bfg.org. Any organization that's new or is looking to improve their kind of footprint digitally, get a better audience, look to test some new marketing initiatives. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love for you to register as well to be considered for the next year's tournament. And just thanks again for the opportunity to bring our Indianapolis champion on and get some well-deserved attention for this organization that's, having such a big impact. And just can't thank you guys enough.
Oh, you're more than welcome. More than welcome. Well, you're always welcome back this time with next year's winner, and we're certainly going to be championing you all the way through the competition. So you're doing great work here in Indianapolis. So keep it up.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Coming up, we're going to be talking to our weird and wacky Paul Poteet as he brings us some stories from the Edge. Coming up right after this. Well, this was Sight Strategics investment in the Indianapolis community. We wanted to really help NX3 shine. It's a fantastic opportunity to be able to bring Sight Strategics and everything that we've been able to grow to be here over the last few years, and then plug into the community, be able to help, be able to support a number of brands that are here. But more importantly, really, it's a gathering for our team to really just get out of the office and just have some fun together. A lot of times we're working so hard that we don't see a lot of the tech startup community, and this is exactly why we moved downtown, is to be able to have that connection, and this was a great platform to be able to really roll out what we do. Last year was the year of pivot. I mean, we left the South Side, knew that we had to be downtown in Indianapolis just because of the technology scene. And on top of that, we tripled our footprint, our square foot footprint downtown to make room for our livecast studio, as well as be able to expand into a much larger collaborative space for all our employees. Our role in the tech community is going to take off like a rocket ship. It honestly is, we look to help give lift to so many companies with our digital marketing tactics, as well as our studio, to be able to paint the picture, tell the why story of so many of these organizations. We've got a great team of videographers, be able to podcast technology that is surpassing almost everybody in the country, and I'm really proud of this convergence of skills and technology to help tell a story for all of these other companies. We have organically grown, and we are now bringing a great number of really sharp people into our organization, because it's time to do that now. And with everything that we've been able to invest in from skill sets and technology, we are now really able to tell our own story, as well as so many other companies. And I got a lot of pride in who is part of this organization now. I'm proud of each and every individual that works for Sight Strategics. There's no way I could have ever done this without a good deal of blessings and a good deal of really caring people to get us to this degree. And I'm just so excited about what we're about to do. The next couple of years is just going to be fantastic.
So Edge of Indy is a weekly Facebook Live broadcast where we interact with some of Indy's best and brightest movers and shakers, promote our internal brands, so Sight Strategics and Edge of Indy itself. Additionally, we wanted to really connect Indianapolis and form connections with people we might eventually want to do business with. You know, small mom and pop businesses or restaurants, startup companies, small to medium-sized businesses, some of Indy's bigger organizations. You know, there's a lot of good things happening, but a lot of times you're either missing it or you're so tied up in your day-to-day that you don't know what's going on. And so this is just a quick and easy way to learn about awesome things going on in our city. Edge of Indy is less than a year old, and within that year we've had over 155,000 Facebook Live views, over 1,000 individual show shares and show likes. And then in terms of show downloads of the podcast itself, there have been over 4,000 of those. So what I want to say about Paul Poteet is that he brings definitely a new energy to the show. It's kind of a dad energy. He and Aaron like to swap the dad jokes and make it like a dad versus dad thing. And then you've got this blonde girl in the middle, this millennial that's just like, oh dad. And it's always nice to have him. He brings a really fun energy, and it's always good to know what weather lies ahead. We have a lot of big plans for what lies ahead. We are looking for sponsors, so to get companies engaged and kind of getting their backing and support in the community. Maybe one day have more than one show a week. That's something to build towards. We are looking at having on-site live shows on location other places. So taking it out of the studio, packing it up, and going to our guests and interviewing them there. You should definitely tune in every week because we've got some great guests who really need some support here in Indianapolis. Just fun and a light, easy way to learn about what's going on. And tune in for some great, happy, lively, fun conversations.
Real life, real stories. Let's see what's trending in Indianapolis. This is Paul Poteet on The Edge.
No. Oh, stop.
Whoa.
That was like 3D.
That was aggressive.
That was aggressive.
It was.
Sorry, I got to stop lifting so often.
How much coffee do you have right now, Paul?
I've had a bunch today.
Is that all you've had?
Well, that was last night, but I think it's all passed by now, hasn't it?
We don't know.
I mean, pass through. Come on.
Oh, okay.
Pass through my system, please.
Oh, my Lord. I don't know where to go with that. There was so too many forks in the road there.
I don't know. Hi, Paul.
Paul, how you doing, sir?
I'm fine. How are you? I wasn't trying to be too medical there. What's new in Edge Media Land?
Oh, we're bringing on a few new podcasts, and we're doing some live streams with produce moms coming up here soon. That's going to be cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We're having a good time here at the studio.
The studio is always busy, and I'm always busy trying to find you some things from right on the end of, right down here, right on the.
It's over here, not there.
Yeah, not that's too far over because that's out of the frame.
Right.
And I'm a video professional, so I know that. But didn't we have that story the other week, or maybe it was just last week, about the app that makes turns your smartphone into like an Instamatic camera?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure did. People with too much time on their hands actually wanting to destroy the quality of the camera into some sort of fuzzy Instagram filter.
Exactly. Yeah. You take a picture and they make it look like an old Kodak cheapy camera, and then you have to wait a few days to see your picture because you're waiting for it to develop. Well, now take that and move it beyond an app and just apply it to an entire phone. Ladies and gentlemen, story number one: a dumb phone.
Okay.
Or as we used to call it in the 90s, a phone.
A phone.
Samsung doesn't want you to give up making calls. That would be a ridiculous business model, wouldn't it? And I'd like to stop you from watching TV and listening to the radio and going online. Samsung does want to give you an option. If like you want your kids to ignore social media, the tech company has a phone called Galaxy J2 Pro. It's just like one of their high-end smartphones, but it doesn't connect to the internet.
I love it. I want to buy 4.
I was going to say, how many kids do you have again?
I've got 4, and I want to dumb them down. I mean, I want to protect them from the challenges of the internet. How about that?
For now, it's only available. Yeah, those are challenges. It's only available in Korea for now, and is being sold for the moment at $186, which I would think is much lower than a price for an internet-enabled.
Doesn't do anything.
Nope, doesn't do. It makes calls.
It makes phone calls. This phone.
Interesting.
yeah, interesting. Let's see if that catches on or not. So,
oh my gosh, this is the parents' dream come true.
It has a 5-inch QHD super blah 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 display. Whatever, I don't even know what that means.
Right.
Quad core processor. I think I have computers in here like that I edit video on that don't even have that, but that's my problem. A quad core processor.
Right.
Gig and a half of RAM and a slot for a micro SD card. 5 megapixel front facing camera, 8 megapixel camera. So you can take pictures still and make calls on the phone. You just, you'll have to wait something with it later on, transfer it to a computer.
Right.
So that could free up a lot of worry for parents and for a lot of
I honestly see this as a huge need for parents that, I mean, literally, if you go to a restaurant and you see a bunch of kids at a restaurant, they're not talking, they're at their screens. And they're literally texting each other, not looking up at each other.
Because they're texting each other about you all.
Look at the old guys that just pulled in.
Could you still text with that then?
Yeah, they can send messages.
They can send messages. You just can't get online.
And they can use apps that don't require the web to function. Fantastic.
What are those?
Flappy Bird. I don't know. Candy Crush.
But of course, you'd have to, download them?
Eventually, yeah. You get them from, you probably tether yourself to internet connection, and then I actually like it, and I'm in this business, so why in the world would I even be supporting this?
Well, again, the market.
It's for the kids.
He's made all the money he needs to make.
You're right.
From here on out, yeah, it's for the kids.
It's for the kids.
From here on, I could see that. I could see a market for that. I'm definitely with you on that. Well, actually, it says, did you see on the story? It says students and seniors. I don't know that I'm ready for that yet, but I can see like older people who they're not going to use it. Why? If you could get a cheaper phone, and you're not really going to want the internet on your phone.
Actually, there's an entire series of phones out there called light phones, which is literally they have no internet connectivity. It's just a phone application for people that don't want to be distracted when they're jogging or working out. I mean, it utilizes the same number, so it just kind of piggybacks on the SIM card that you've got. It's basically just a phone. This is the same thing. So you're seeing a pendulum swing because we're so bloody distracted. I mean, there's so much.
It's just like a plain old phone.
I want to go back to the bag phones, right?
Oh my gosh, I loved my bag phone. It felt so glamorous.
What?
You've never seen a bag phone?
No, I think that was before me.
It was the first mobile phone, and it came with a battery that was this big.
No, this is before my time.
Yeah, it's huge, and I mean, you had to sling it over your shoulder in a bag. It was.
If you had it in your car, like I did, usually you'd have like, what was it? One thing that was going into the cigarette lighter.
Yeah.
Or what we used to call the cigarette lighter. And then one would go into and then that would power up the. Oh, there you go.
There's a bag phone right there. Thank you, Tom.
Huh.
Look at that thing.
Yeah,
the
I've never
memories.
seen that
Oh my gosh, I know.
And that was the sleek model too.
in my life. Bag phones?
That is, and you had to have all these different connections because you needed a battery
Look at that battery.
for it, or you could use there's the little plug that goes into the cigarette lighter, and wasn't there like an antenna? Then you'd have to put also like it was a suction cup thing, so you'd moisten the do one of these, put that like roll down your window and put it on top of your car. And it worked.
It absolutely did. And it was a status symbol at the time.
Look at me. I've got a bag phone.
I can talk while I'm driving. I mean, that was a huge thing.
I've never seen this in my life.
I'm already distracted, and you're not yet. Look at me. Yeah.
Oh, distract us with another story, Paul.
Yes, look how far we've come from the bag phones.
Come all the way up from the bag. We started at the bag. Now we're here. Okay. Does it really all matter, though, guys? Because the world is going to end within a week. So I don't know what kind of phone. Who cares what kind of phone? I love the stock image that they use for this.
Oh, hold on. This is a day after my birthday.
Oh, Aaron, I'm so happy and sorry for you.
Oh, my Lord. Okay.
If the world's going to end, I want it to end a day before I get a year older.
I'm saying.
Or on your birthday would be pretty cool, too.
I guess so.
Oddly enough, my birthday, it was named Earth Day the day I was born. Born. I was born. Jason Bourne.
That's because they didn't make it to the hospital in time. You were born like in the mud? Or right over there, that ditch.
Yeah.
Just that. Yeah, the death planets are going to line up supposedly April 23rd. Conspiracy theorists say that when the sun...
Did you say death planets?
Death planets.
Okay.
So-called death planets.
All right.
Sun, Moon, and Jupiter will all be in Virgo. And supposedly, and I forgot to run this past my pastor last Saturday night when I was at church, but supposedly that matches up with a verse in Revelations. And so JC is going to use that as the grand re-entry point.
All righty then.
Silly you paying your taxes.
Exactly. Hopefully, I mean, maybe they can extend it out a little bit further.
Maybe God will be like the IRS.
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
By a day. You get an extra day.
All of a sudden, there's a bright light up above, and you hear him say, "Never mind, we're not ready yet. We don't have all the intakes and all the processing done yet. You all get another day."
Gosh, what I would do with that day.
Well, that would be a heck, if you will, a heck of a day.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
That would, and you'd probably be very scary because
it would be
watch the lanes.
It would be a good time.
The Brittany comet.
It would be a good time.
I would just burn it all up
in one day. Wow.
That's why it's probably best that we don't know, or not to contradict this group here. But in my personal opinion, you might not want to bank on that. You might want to go ahead and pay your
If that was the day, I would absolutely eat a tarantula burger.
Oh, sickening.
Now look at this. This is story number 3. This is one of the most disgusting things that I've brought to you in some time. This is apparently Exotic Meat Month, which I did not know.
I knew that.
Oh, no.
Wow, look at that.
Oh.
They're not even trying to hide it. The fact that it's in its form there. This is the Bull City, aptly named Burger and Brewery in North Carolina, and they do Exotic Meat Month every year for the last 6 years. This year, tarantula. The dish consists of a pasture-raised beef patty, cheese, spicy chili sauce, and an oven-roasted tarantula.
With a little bit of chipotle on there.
I don't like looking at that. Why wouldn't you try and blend it or mix it?
Because you want a little bit of fur between your teeth.
Oh. Gag reflex.
They are. I have had one once on the palm of my hand for a thing at the Indianapolis Zoo, and it was disgusting. I recall that my hands were actually shaking on the TV because, of course, they went in and had a close-up of it. And the other thing I remember is it was like heavy.
Gross. Yuck. I gotta go.
It's a very dense meat.
I mean, it wasn't like, your typical spider on your, it was like, I'm sorry, I went out of the shot just about the time I was going to.
No,
Baxter, hi.
It wasn't quite, Baxter weight, but it was, it was something that you could feel.
That's disgusting.
On your hand. Oh, it was.
But if you break the legs off, they're really good. It's kind of like lobster.
Has anyone ever,
You're really grossing me out.
Yeah, right. It's like, well, that's the thing. You raise a really good point. I mean, that is disgusting to look at. But if you're an alien and you've never seen or never been told before,
right?
People love lobster. Look at that thing that we're eating.
That's right.
I don't eat those either. So there we have it. Anything that looks like you crack it off and then you nope.
A little bit of calamari. I mean,
I'll have it with like butter, and I don't. I'll have it to the point where you can't taste it, and then I think it tastes great.
More butter than anything else.
Yeah, but it's just like
same thing with tarantulas. I mean, with a nice Cajun spice. I mean, it's fantastic.
I don't believe you would eat it.
Did I ever tell you about the Madagascar hissing cockroach?
That's different. That's different.
That's creamy.
It's different.
What's creamy?
The Madagascar hissing cockroach that I ate.
Oh.
There's a YouTube video on Pack 107, Aaron Sparks. You can actually see us in all of our glory eating that
disgusting.
Years ago.
That's disgusting, but that's not tarantula disgusting.
Did it hiss when it got into your...
It did. And it was really good going down, but crawling back up, it was...
Oh.
You really want me to vomit today?
Not really. No. We don't want that on the carpet.
Angle on that. I mean, because it is true. We're just not used to seeing tarantulas, all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, tarantula on a sesame seed.
How much hair do you want on your
Oh, my God.
All right. Wow.
Those are the stories we found for you this time around. On the edge.
So with that, we really appreciate those stories. It's great for our audience to be able to have their midday disrupted like that. What's in the agenda for our weather coming up? Because we've been bouncing all over the place.
Look at this. It's the most boring weather weekend in a month.
Good job, Paul.
You finally did it.
I know everyone is excited about that. I mean, it's either been like last weekend, it was still kind of mild on Saturday, and then
I'm sorry, what was that? One more. I'm sorry, I missed it. One more time.
I do that thing with my lips.
Wow.
Oh my God, let's do this to him all day.
He can't do it. He just can't do it again.
Okay, one time was enough.
That's what happened to the temperatures last Sunday. Just like that.
Wow. So completely boring.
For the Jetsons, when their car would go through space, was the exact same noise that.
Now he's really enjoying it. Look at him.
Temperatures last week dived after being mild on Saturday, but it's nice and steady this weekend. Close to normal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the normal high is like 65 this time of year. So we'll be back to normal next week. But look at that. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Beautiful. I love it so much.
Way through, not as warm as, you know, obviously it should be or could be this time of year, but, you know, above freezing. There's no snow. There's no rain. Well, last Saturday was just Sunday.
That was nasty.
I, you know, did some tax stuff and, you know, cleaning out and organizing stuff last Sunday, and that rain all day. I mean, I was thinking this is the perfect day to be doing your taxes. And we may stay in the actual 60s all next week. So there's some good news.
Could we consider this the new normal? Like, is this actually going to do this now?
This is not my in-laws who live up in Wisconsin. That's where Mrs. Poteet is from. I forget. My brother-in-law had like 22 or so inches of snow in Green Bay.
Yes.
That's the second biggest snow that they've ever had. And they get a lot of snow there, but you know, even for them, that's a lot of snow. And it's April.
Yeah, the mother-in-law had, I think she said 22 inches. Like, it was a lot of snow. She just got pummeled.
So, I doubt that it's the new normal, but what a weird year this has been.
But is it going to be spring now? Are we done?
I did not see any big cold behind. I mean, like, you know, nothing, no more snow.
Okay.
After, we do have a chance of seeing, we're going to get some showers this afternoon and Wednesday evening if you're watching our initial live stream. And then there may be some snow showers late Wednesday night into early Thursday morning, but maybe that's it.
I just want to see another snowflake on the 7-day. I just like to see the reaction.
Why?
Because it's
other things make me react that way too. Let's not bring snow into it.
Like tarantulas.
Yes.
A tarantula snowflake would be fantastic.
I'm crossing like every tarantula, you know, limb that I might have. You know, I'm pro spring, pro summer, as you know. I'm anti. So that's just me.
All right. Well, we thank you so much, Paul, and we certainly want our audience to know where to find you in all of your different consumption patterns. So
include spiders.
So paulpoteet.com, you can certainly find him there and in all the different areas that he's broadcasting, especially on Twitter. So at Paul Poteet, right?
Paul Poteet, one new thing this last couple of weeks is on WFYI. If you haven't checked it out yet, Tuesday evening, 7:30, Boomer TV, the magazine show. And maybe someday we'll do exotic foods on there, although I don't know if...
Can the tarantula show up there?
No.
If we slipped in a little picture of a tarantula, I'm not sure the WFYI would
just
be...
lower left-hand corner. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Excellent, Paul. Well, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, and we'll be looking at what you're doing out there and talking to you soon.
All right. See you guys.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Hey, I wanted to take a brief moment and talk about the title sponsor of the show, Site Strategics. Very proud to be the title sponsor of Edge of Indy, and wanted to share with its listeners of the show a special offer. So we provide digital marketing strategies to our clients regularly, and it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, that we are constantly asked about the question about return on investment for your digital marketing dollars. That's truly what you should be focusing on as an owner of a company, right? So we'd like to discover for you your marketing ROI. Why not have a second opinion to check out your investment and see if it's paying off? So what we provide is a digital marketing ROI report that delivers a comprehensive image of existing performance in the areas of SEO, content, social media, search engine marketing, while allowing the Site Strategics production team full insight into the areas of opportunity and growth. So check out over here at this URL, offers.edgeofindy.com/ROI, and just connect with us right there. There's no obligation. Just submit your information so you can learn about your digital ROI, start a conversation with us, and see if that report would be able to help you out. So it's offers.edgeofindy.com/ROI.
This is Edge of Indy, showcasing Indianapolis tech trends, marketing industry champions, and business innovation. Broadcasting from Edge Media Studios. Now, let's get back to today's topic.
So Casey, we got you in the house here, Casey of Midtown Indy. You're down with eating tarantulas, huh?
We were talking tarantulas at the break. We were they got me all hyped up on coffee and then all cooled down on bourbon. So
we know how to treat our
anything sounded
guests.
good at that point in time.
Well, we take care of our guests here.
Absolutely. Every guest is treated with so many amenities, including tarantula burgers. So
we already ate them. That's why they're not on the
They're
desk,
gone.
Yeah. Delicious.
So, Midtown Indy is a nonprofit community services organization committed to positively impacting the quality of life and the economic vitality of the collective neighborhoods of Midtown Indianapolis. So tell me more about what you find, what your fine folks do for our city, and where Midtown actually is.
So Midtown is, well, first off,
Are we in Midtown right now?
we're not in Midtown right
Okay.
now. We're just south of Midtown. But if, Broad Ripple, everything up to 38th essentially, and down to 38th
my
now
hood,
is
so I
Broad Ripple,
gotcha.
by a realtor standard. So I guess we could be
Gotcha.
south. So Midtown. I don't know. Maybe we can call it that. This map back here will help demonstrate. It's 17.
All right, there we
Midtown
go.
is 17 neighborhoods, essentially between Broad Ripple down to Meridian Highland, Meridian Kessler area, over to Crown Hill on the west side over by the river, and then over Keystone, Monon, kind of a loose eastern boundary there.
Got
So
it.
Midtown isn't so much defined by the area; it's defined by the neighborhoods
Defined by
within
more
the
than
area.
scribbles, right?
It's exactly right. So we got the scribbles on the top, which is the White River, and the scribbles on the bottom, which is Fall
It's really
Creek.
defined by spirit. If your spirit
Exactly.
is in Midtown, then that's where Midtown is.
And
What?
you gotta.
What just I'm so
And-
glad
and
I was
Aaron-
looking at you when you did that.
Aaron talked about the community service organization, which whenever it comes to any sort of community development whatsoever, acronyms, words are important, and there's just tons of acronyms that are used throughout community development, throughout anything really. But community development is no different, or is especially different in that regard. And we are a community services organization, which differentiates us from a community development corporation, which we also are, because we expand beyond just doing the development of an area. So.
Sure.
Not just revitalization of an area through economic means, through rebuilding, through stuff like that, but also through activating. So pushing for rezoning in an area to try to get
gotcha.
some new initiative, kind of internally focused. Right. So a lot of redevelopment happens where you have some folks with money coming into an area that does not have money, and those folks oftentimes will redevelop an area and then leave, which then leaves somewhat of a void for the people that are already there, because taxes will go up on homes, and whenever you're walking a fine line on what you can afford, when you have a little bit of tax increment or tax increase on your home,
Yep.
you're going to be moving out is what ends up happening. So Midtown, a big portion of what we do is to try to educate folks, to try to bring resources to folks from within a neighborhood, to keep those people in the neighborhood and updating what they have going on. So gentrification is a word that's used a lot, thrown around a lot. Gentrification by itself just means redevelopment, essentially. And so it gets a bad rap for seeming like it's people with money coming in, booting other people out. So we want to gentrify. We want to improve, but we don't want to be booting people out. We want to gentrify in addition to educating and empowering is Midtown's biggest goal. So
Well,
we're a connector,
Sure,
an advocate.
and you're big on like advocacy and community activation and getting the community involved. And once things are better in those locations, you're really about sustaining it and building it from there as well. Like you said, it's not about kicking people out; it's about improving it and then building upon that improvement.
Right, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So we kind of provide the glue between organizations to get people and organizations together to have a more powerful voice, whether that voice is being used to spur banks to invest, whether that voice is being used to spur the city to take action on a certain area. City's broad, so the city can only focus its resources on certain areas. So Midtown has to, first off, put itself on the map as a legitimate area that people want to go to and know and can refer to, Midtown Indianapolis, like they refer to downtown Indianapolis. So a big part of what we do is putting us on the map and then drawing attention to the area, saying, hey, we need help here because, and then filling in the blank for people there.
For all of our listeners and watchers, I failed to actually introduce you correctly and formally. I just went straight into the tarantula burger. Casey Seaton is the program and events coordinator of Midtown Indy, and so I just want to make sure that everybody knew who we were talking to.
Maybe it's better that they don't.
Yeah, well, I was just saying Casey because I didn't know where we were going to go here.
Well,
okay.
Because you've been drinking with him now, so
Yeah, so
right.
we're all good now.
we're on a first name basis for sure.
Could be the internal tarantula bite setting in too. That,
So, I mean, community activation is essential, and not many organizations and economic development organizations, to say the like, know how to do it very, very well. So give us some insight into how you actually connect and be able to not only wrangle the community, but able to empower them to be able to demonstrate the needs for their neighborhood.
Yeah, so we're learning. It's an active learning process at all times,
Sure.
and it's a lot of communication. So it's taking our local resources, which is other community development corporations, other community service organizations that do it well, like the John Bonner Center on the east side, finding out what they've done well, mimicking that, and trying to grow upon it. And so what we've done to connect us with places like that is we've taken hold of an initiative called Great Places 2020, which there are 5 great places around the city now. There were 3 up till about a month ago. Now we're up to 5. And great places are just intersections or about a mile square area where there is a need for development. There's a clear need for improvement in that area. And the city has recognized that, and a group called LISC has recognized that. LISC is essentially a bank for impoverished areas that aren't going to get funding in other ways. And so they are the big pusher behind this agenda. And so we are the convener. Midtown Indianapolis is a convener for the Maple Crossing Great Place, which is one of the 5 great places. And the idea behind a great place is to take community development and isolate it, focus it on one area. And once it's isolated, focused on that area, to have it spread from there. So kind of a center-out approach. So target the toughest part, and then push beyond that, or some part where there's something to cling on to, but it's still an area of need, and push beyond that. In the past, there's been attempts to do kind of corridors where people take a redevelopment corporation will take an area and kind of just spot different buildings that they want to try to redevelop.
Right.
And that ends up looking more, or a larger area, and that ends up looking more like
A patchwork.
And so nobody sees anything significant. Whereas if you take this Great Places initiative, you have a very focused, centric-looking redevelopment. And so in Maple Crossing, you have the corner of 38th and Illinois, which up till a few years ago wouldn't be a hot spot to go to. It still isn't, but we're working on changing that. We at Midtown essentially want to make 38th Midtown Indianapolis as a whole, as an area's Main Street. And that's tough to do when it's more of a highway at the moment. So it's always been a dividing line, not always, but for anybody's memory, it's been a dividing line. We want that to be a bridge instead, and we want it to focus on Tarkington Park up there. We want it to focus on the buildings around that area.
Sure. No, that's and it's clear and concise, and it makes perfect sense as opposed to the spot weld concepts of sporadic revitalization. You're really doing it from a core area and then spreading out. So your team brings together the people, neighborhood associations, organizations, investors, and funders to make everything happen. Okay. Now you're having conversations with all these individuals independently, but you're also bringing them together to be able to connect.
Right.
Right. So what does that process look like, and
how do you do it?
How do you do it?
A lot of it
seems to be pretty challenging.
It is challenging, but a lot of it is just the same as you would do, looking at a corporate structure where you were just, instead of having the different departments within your corporation, you just have the different neighborhood associations or the different organizations that are involved within your broader, say, Midtown area, and that's essentially your corporation. So we reach out to different areas that we can target, and we do it just like anybody else would, through email, through setting up conferences. We have a big conference that we're setting up this year for different developing companies from around the nation.
Right.
And so a lot of it is just basic communication, but we found that in-face, person to person works best, where you can actually passionately show what it is that you're trying to do, develop in that way.
Can you talk to us about the concept of placemaking? It's something we've heard on the show before. When Indianapolis City Market was here, he talked about it briefly, and that was months and months and months ago. But it's something else that you all are doing too, and I feel like it's popping up more and more often.
Yeah.
And it's really capitalizing on a community's existing assets, right?
Right.
It's building on what's already there. So tell us a little bit about that.
So placemaking is what the Great Places Initiative is for Maple Crossing for us. So our placemaking focuses largely around Tarkington Park and making Tarkington Park, which is 39th in Illinois, 39th Illinois, 39th and Meridian, making Tarkington Park a spot where people of all economic backgrounds, colors, ethnicities, whatever demographic you want to name, can show up and have a good time and be together and share as a community. So we want that to be the communal hub. That's already a place. Making it involves fundraising, it involves convening people, all this sort of stuff. Around that, you can't just have a standalone park and expect that that it's going to do anything.
The people will come.
I mean, yeah, people will come, but it'll just be a grassy area essentially, or a playground area. This playground is fantastic. It's ridiculous. I would have paid to go to this place as a kid. Yeah,
Yeah.
Even now, as a bigger kid, but it's taking that side of the street with Tarkington Park and also developing on the other side of the street. So you have a destination, a place that you're making. That's a spot that people want to go to. So. Featured in our background here is the Concord building, which is on 38th in Illinois. And that is a very old building with a lot of infrastructure issues that we have been addressing.
The Melody Inn used to be there too. Yeah,
the Melody Inn is there. It's just north a little bit, so it's still there, and it's connected
Old
to a
stopping ground for me.
lot of cool areas.
Yeah.
Cheatham
and Young Barbershop is right there. All sorts
They
of very
just
cool
painted
areas.
all of this too recently, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
I think I was driving by when that happened, and I was like, oh, that looks so good.
And so in the Concord, you have a very old building, but it represents the old time of that area, and it's something to savor that the neighborhood has memories attached to. So
Absolutely.
we're going to use that as a way to draw people back to that area, to make it a more happening area. It'll take a lot of safety measures on 38th, which we're pushing for.
Sure.
But we're going to have a neighborhood history museum that we have a couple of local artists and designers that are working on
That's
there
cool.
from within the neighborhood who know the neighborhood and know the people there and can reach out and get the stories and bring them in and represent them in an artful way. We have a discount market called Under the Sun Discount Market that's going to be going in there that addresses the food desert issue that's going on in this area. We've got a couple other vacant spots in there. So we're trying to, the idea behind buying this building, we are the landlord officially of this building, which is a new role for our organization.
Oh, wow.
The idea behind that, and also the old 88 building just north of this, which is now Happy Brewing Company, which just opened up. The idea behind those is to essentially keep it from getting developed in a way that's not going to build community.
Not conducive for
So,
the role. Yeah.
so gas stations are useful, but not in this capacity, and there's plenty across the street sort of thing. So it's to take an idea and lay it out how people want it with community input, make that place happen, placemaking.
Yeah, based on feedback from the community,
Right.
not just you putting something there that you
It's
think
not us
is...
coming up with an idea that
Right.
sounds good because we saw it in San Francisco or something.
No, that makes
for
sense.
instance, there was an initial representation or diagram of Tarkington Park that was laid out. It had a dog park as a suggested spot on it.
Dog park.
And that was eaten up by, pun intended, by the community because people are having a rough enough time having a spot for them to go safely and enjoy with their family.
Right.
Dogs are secondary. No offense to dog lovers, but in this instance, it made more sense for the people to be the focus. And so you got to really listen on these things and not put in what you think maybe as...
Plus, we have a
There's
lot of
other
good dog parks
Go to
already.
Broad Ripple. Yeah.
That's a great dog.
So I mean, it's a broad organization. So
Yeah.
a lot of CDCs, a lot of community development corporations address more focused areas. So
Right.
our big focus is around the Tarkington Park, the Maple Crossing, Great Place area. But Midtown is the community service organization representing and convening a much larger area where you've got, like I said, all the way up to Broad Ripple. So we'll be taking part in the planning for the revamp of Broad Ripple Park, their master
Broad
plan
Ripple,
and stuff like that.
what, as you would say.
There we go.
Throwing down signs. Well, you also have an annual event coming up as well. The Midtown Anchor Luncheon. That's actually in late July. Can you kind of unpack that for
Yeah,
us?
so we'll have our Midtown Momentum Luncheon, which is going to happen. We're aiming for August 2nd this year. We haven't narrowed down the date yet, but
okay.
We're ahead of ourselves on some things and behind ourselves on some other. But that's what happens when you're wearing 12 hats on
That's
two
when you
shoulders.
have 76 jobs.
That's
what
exactly right. Yeah,
happens.
it's tough to explain job roles whenever you're like, it depends on the day. We were hauling signs today. It's like
Yeah.
I was a mover this morning.
Really?
But yeah, we have our annual Momentum Luncheon where we get corporate sponsors to come out and grab a table, donate to Have a Table. We're aiming to be out at Newfields, formerly IMA, Indianapolis Museum of Art. Their Deers Inc. Pavilion is where we're aiming to be this year. So we're setting that up.
Cool.
It's a neat event, and it's our 10th year. So we're gonna focus a lot of what we're doing around the development of this neighborhood history museum around our past 10 years, what we've done, our next 10 years, where we aim to be going. So any support in there would be fantastic. Like I said, we're still getting everything together on that. But our other big event happens in November every year. This year it's the 10th and 11th, and that's our holiday home tour, Midtown Holiday Home Tour. So that's a fun thing where people. So Midtown's a unique place. We're south of 38th and places over by the fairgrounds. You have some rougher areas that have been neglected for a lot of years, whether that be by people, by government, by whatever it is. A lot of factors at play there. That's for 12 more episodes to cover. But there's also some incredible wealth, some of the wealthiest spots in the state, if not the nation, along Meridian Street and that whole corridor. And so a lot of folks along there live in these houses that have a very storied histories, that have past that people want to brag about, want to talk about, want to explain their house. So I don't know if take advantage of is the right terminology, but we take advantage of the opportunity. We capitalize on the opportunity that people want to do that.
There we go.
So we have a lot of very helpful people that want to show off these houses for good. And so for the good. And so they will donate their time and their house space and welcome hundreds, if not thousands, of 1,500, I think, last year, guests to buy tickets and walk through their house, and just people will doll them up with decorators, and we'll have food and drink vendors.
And who doesn't like walking through nicer houses than you own?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite pastimes, is going into better homes.
So
I
we'll
usually
see you
go
there.
in there and just tip something over as I walk through.
So
Take a
we'll
little
see you
something
there,
from
but
the
not Aaron. Brittany will be there. Got her checked down. Aaron.
I'm just gonna be patted down.
Now now we need security, so it actually is going to cost us to not have him there.
You're on a wanted poster now.
I'll take $5
evens out
not
for
to be there.
the publicity here. So
That's funny. That's really funny. I would love to hear your perspective on community engagement here in Indianapolis. You're obviously working with an organization that is deeply involved in that area. Is Indianapolis engaged enough? What more can we do? What's your perspective on that?
So Indianapolis as a city is very engaged. And I mean from a government downtown perspective is very engaged, but like any government, short on funds and short on time, just like any community development organization, short on funds, short on staff, short on time. That being said, there are a lot of organizations that do an incredible job of filling the voids that government can't reach. And so, for instance, the mayor has a teen summer work program. I can't think of exactly what the name of it is.
Yeah, I know exactly what.
It's a fantastic program, and I think they're aiming for, they had 2,000 teens employed last year. They're aiming for 3,000 this year.
Yep.
Kind of in addition to that, or to fill a void, which is in the Tarkington area, in the Maple Crossing area, south of Butler Tarkington, on the south edge of Butler Tarkington, is an organization called the MLK Community Center, Martin Luther King Community Center. And they have a teen summer work program where they are employing kids from within their area, within about a mile circle around them, radius around them, to improve that area. So it's a more hyper-focused version of that, that citywide program. And so you have just tons of instances of stuff like that where communities and people and organizations are filling voids where need be through fantastic initiative.
That hyper-focused initiative, we're hearing more and more of that as well.
Yeah.
And it just
Hyper-local,
hyper-local. It just sounds so native or intuitive.
Yeah,
and
you started the show off talking about
that's right.
Local.
And we're seeing so many not only companies, brands, organizations, but they're leveraging the community for their want to be able to improve that. You can't bust that in. You can't bring in and drop in someone that, I mean, you can from a funding standpoint, but the pride and ownership of revitalization for a community, for them to be able to participate, is enormously valuable, right?
Yeah, this idea of this is ours. This is
That's right.
our thing.
That's right.
Unless you're in the suburbs where you can drop off some chain restaurant, which I eat at chain restaurants. No offense to suburbs. Lived in the suburbs when I lived down in Florida. But it's not for everybody.
No.
And so people that live in neighborhoods, in distinguished areas that are named within a city, within a community, feel a pride and ownership of that area. And they want to see it improved from their own, from the inside out, from their own initiatives, what they want to happen in that area to make it feel like a small town essentially encompassed by a city is what people are aiming for nowadays, a village within a city. And so you have places like Broad Ripple that are great beacons for how that's been done well.
Mm-hmm.
A little shout out to
What-
Broad Ripple
what?
again.
Oh my Lord!
East Side residents. I got to do it too. And so you have that pride of ownership, and it doesn't really work for a company, a corporation to just come in and say, hey, we're dropping this here. You guys are going to love it.
No.
Because people aren't going to love it, and they'll go somewhere more
almost
local,
an insult.
almost in protest.
And we'll reject it.
Right.
They will because it's not native for the environment,
Yeah.
and as much as it may be very well altruistic for the company's
Right.
brand, or maybe not.
If it doesn't fit with what the neighborhood's jive is, it's not going to work.
And people could actually push away just because you're not part of our community. I
Yeah.
mean, so they're, again, I mean, Indianapolis is a large city, but at the same time, we're made up of a lot of small communities.
It's the biggest small town,
You better
and it's
believe it.
even composed of even smaller towns within that city. I mean, that's how it got its roots, is by combining a whole bunch of small towns. Indianapolis really is a whole bunch of small towns, just under one government. But we also focus on connecting people or convening people around things that are just tough to wrap your head around, like zoning and land use and stuff like that. So we'll drive initiatives to get organizations together and give them a rundown from the city on, hey, how do you contribute to seeing our area developed, how we want it developed, how do we get it zoned, how we want it zoned for things to develop in these certain ways. We don't know what those things are, but we generally have an idea of what type of industry we want to see here or something like that, what type of restaurant or whatever it is that we want to see here. And so we also provide the outreach to organizations so they can then spiderweb and spread this information about how do you contribute to making sure the city knows how we want this area to look like. Because there is the city does open a lot of doors to people to contribute what they want the city to look like. It's not all a top-down approach. So letting people understand the channels to be able to access that is another big thing that we do.
Huge on the education front. Right. I mean, people got to know where they got to go to be able to influence government, and a lot of times that, and to wrap up here, it's an onus of every individual that's in a neighborhood. They got to know how to affect policy and how to move things. People collectively have looked at this over the years as something they just can't touch, and bureaucracy has gotten a hold of it, and you have some really bad decisions made.
Shots fired.
I'm saying.
Point anywhere on the map and you'll find it.
Yeah, you better believe it. But I mean, if community gets plugged in and they know the channels
that's
of
the tough part
communication,
is letting people understand how do you do something.
Right.
How do you make a difference? How do you get your voice heard? And our city's done a good job of letting people do that through online, through in-person meetings, through going downtown. So props to them for that. But like I said, shortage of resources, time, and money. So makes it tough on them, tough on us. But we try to fill the voids where possible for a lot of 17 neighborhoods.
Any other organizations doing similar efforts that you're doing here in the?
Yeah, like I said, the Bonner Center is a great one. Down on the southeast side, you have a guy named Jeff Sparks who's heading off another one of the great places down
relation.
I was going to say relative. No.
You have over
Saeed.
You got the
God.
Flanner Place area over here is doing a great job. Flanner House,
Right.
The Kennedy King neighborhood. You got Inglewood, you got River West. So a lot of the great places spots have their associated CDCs or community service organizations.
But they're not
too
doing
that
what you're doing, right?
They're not doing quite the same thing as Midtown. And that just not to knock any of them, but it's just the broader perspective of reaching a different dynamic in terms of kind of the dualistic economy of north and south of 38th and trying to have those benefit each other, and also the broader geographic area. So there's some differentiating factors and a lot of similar factors too.
What do you think about Kimball Musk's new restaurant opening on May 1st?
On 38th there?
Yes, on 38th.
We're pretty pumped, especially that it's got I was thinking of you're talking about on College there. Next
it's
door.
like
next door American Eatery. Yeah, that place looks awesome.
It
but
does.
I was talking about
beautiful.
Just south of there on 38th and Washington, the old bank.
Yes, I've seen that one too. Yes,
developed by Neil Brown.
Yes,
and,
yes. That's
what's his name?
obviously going to
Craigslist-
be good too.
Craigslist guy. Can't think of his last name.
Craigslist guy.
Yeah. Anyway, your listeners will know who
There's
I'm
a
talking
lot
about.
of development going on. No,
But
there's
they're putting in a Midtown Brasserie, which we are just pumped that it's attaching the Midtown name on there to
Yeah,
cement
that's
the
great.
area a little bit more.
good growth up there.
Absolutely. So we want to make sure that our listeners and our watchers and all of our audience knows how to get a hold of you and how to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Go to on the website. Go to midtownindy.org and on
Look at him finish his drink.
You know, don't want to be rude.
He said. On Facebook, Midtown Indianapolis Inc. On Twitter, Midtown Indy. Any last final words for maybe organizations that are trying to up their game of community connection for revitalization of their neighborhoods?
Watch us closely, follow us, and we're going to do the same for you because we want to. There's plenty out there to glean knowledge-wise, and we're looking for it.
All right. So what about those individuals that live in neighborhoods? Where do they start giving back to their local area?
Come to our doors. We'll talk to you any day of the week, 39th or 40th and Meridian, essentially.
And what is your favorite flavor of tarantula?
It's got to be the chocolate mocha tarantula, I think. Yeah.
Vomit and vomit.
There it is. There it is, folks. Didn't miss a beat there, Casey.
Wow, Casey, that was great.
Awesome.
Be on your toes. 4 a.m. wake up, even with NP, ready to go.
Well, we're going to juice you there, so you're good to go.
That's right.
All right, so that's Casey Seaton, Program and Events Coordinator of Midtown Indy. Thanks so much for joining us today. And
thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. And thanks for everybody listening and watching on the stream. Be sure to jump in and be able to give your responses, your reviews on the show. Let us know what you think about it, and also who we should be talking to here in Indianapolis and Indiana to be able to focus on and be able to lift up, because there are a lot of organizations that need a shout out and need you to be able to connect with them. So this is Aaron and Brittany giving you a sign off here from Edge of Indy. We'll talk to you next Wednesday. Hey, choose local and choose local often. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.